It is now my pleasure to invite to the podium Dr. Tobin, who has requested to say a few words.
Follow Bill Pulliam. I was intimidated when I thought I was the warm-up act. I want to thank Dean Jakubowski, Father Marr. This is a great honor. Thank you very much. I'm humbled by this. And I especially want to thank Colonel Love, who ultimately got the ball rolling to this invitation being extended to me. And what Colonel Love left out of his comments is we were embedded together in Iraq. So I want to thank Colonel Love for his service, and I noticed at least one veteran here in the crowd. Thank you, sir, for your service, and well done. The honor here, of course, is the opportunity to speak with you. Congratulations, class of 2017. That someone thought that I should be one of the final voices you hear before you're turned loose on the world, the educated class, is quite an honor. You're now the elite, the upper reaches of society. I took this very seriously, and I called around to the people with whom I went to school, talked to business leaders, politicians. I said, what did you take away from your commencement speaker? Most said, I don't remember, I was hungover. Rephrase the question. What did you need to hear? Without exception, don't be afraid to fail. Don't let fear hold you back. And don't let disappointment kill your momentum. So the standard speech is to get up here and say, go out there and achieve greatness. And I'm here to say, get out there and fail a couple times. Take some lumps. Get in the ring, take the punches, and understand that the taste of blood in your mouth is compulsory. I can make a long speech here with anecdotes from George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Edison, 2,500 ways not to make a light bulb, but you can Google that stuff. It's on posters and boardrooms everywhere. But these are individuals who have a long history of failures, great successes that we celebrate and know. Winston Churchill said success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Personal observations, you'll know people when you get to be my age who never really got anywhere. You talk to them and they'll offer a myriad of excuses. It was never the right time to make the move. I didn't like that person I interviewed with. If you cut through the dialogue, you'll find an individual who was afraid they would fail, and that failure would amount to a humiliation greater than they could endure. The reality is, and the hard part here, if you choose a goal, one that challenges you to your core, there is a great deal of failure and rejection that lays in the path ahead of you. It's up to you to push past it. Admiral William McRaven, who commanded the operation that killed Osama bin Laden, wrote, life is a struggle, and the potential for failure is ever present. But those who live in fear of failure, hardship, or embarrassment will never achieve their potential. On a recent story, I had a chance to meet with John Fiorola. He is the CEO, president, and chairman of Nucor Steel. This is a guy who worked his way up from the production line. He now has 23,000 employees underneath him. I told him I had the honor of coming here to speak with you, and without prompting, he said, if you fear failure, you will not push the limits of your capability and your imagination. Now, in this context, I want to use failure synonymously with disappointment or rejection, because your first goal is going to be that job interview. And you're going to be subject to an interviewer or a panel who will play the role of Caesar and give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down. And I've traveled around the world and the country, and I've carried with me a stack of reject letters. They're as thick as a Bible. And I'm pretty grateful for the opportunity to quote from a few of them. The early days, WABT Radio, The Wabbit. Thank you for your interest in Northwest Zone rock and roll. The latest air shift is going to be filled from within. I got a lot of form letters. That's like when your girlfriend dumps you over text. Couldn't be bothered to personalize the note. WGN Television in Chicago, dear Mr. Tobin, there are no openings suitable to your qualifications. A newsroom manager for the Associated Press sent me a gong letter with a big typo in it. Said, I note form your resume, you lack the experience. You lack the attention to detail. One news director in Chicago sent me a reject letter with so many grammar errors that I corrected it and sent it back. I still didn't get the job. I could go through these all day, but my favorite reject letter says, although your work is not without merit, we regret to say we cannot offer you a position at this time. It's my favorite because it's from CNN. They were #1 at the time. My first job was for $15,000 a year. My second job was in Maryland, or was in West Virginia, and it wasn't for much more. I was living in this crack-infested housing complex on an air mattress. The air mattress developed a slow leak, And so I'd fill it up before I went to bed at night, and I knew it was time to go to work because I was back on the hardwood. My brothers all work in commercial real estate, and I had all my local journalism awards hanging on the wall. And he came to visit, he looked at the awards, and he said, you know, if just one of those said Best Commercial Real Estate Salesman, you wouldn't be living like this. I was bearing down on 30 years old. I was poor. I was stuck in small market TV. I was very discouraged. I definitely thought about quitting the business, changing lanes, doing something else. But I got after it every day, got off the air mattress and got in the fight. And I wrote a long segment here about motivation, but you guys have celebrations you want to get to. Well-earned celebrations, might I add. And I'll skip right to the rhetorical question. What is the motivation when the payoff isn't necessarily in sight? A lot of journalists will tell you it's about the First Amendment and the people's right to know. And they're right, this is an awesome responsibility, and it should motivate you out the door. Some will say they want to make a difference in the world. I actually think that's misguided. Compromises your objectivity. The reason I got after it every day and still get after it every day, God's honest truth as I stand in front of you, because I like it. I scrap it up with cops and criminals, politicians, terrorists. I like that. I compete with other educated individuals who've chosen to specialize in this task. I get to beat them, and I like that. And over time, built a reputation, a solid demo. I got to big market TV before I turned 30. That was my deadline. And I started working with a guy named Jim Acosta, who's a CNN White House correspondent right now, and he's a favorite punching bag of the president. We still weren't making a decent living at the time, and a lot of the people that we work with changed lanes, went after financial security. Nothing wrong with that. It's a decision they made. But I asked Jim why he never went that route. And he said, and I quote, "I've got the fire inside of me. I just couldn't turn it off." By the way, financial security came. I have a bed now. It's not inflatable. I've covered 5 wars. I've been shot at, rocketed, hit with rocks, tear gassed. I've been mortared with Colonel Love. I lost 20 pounds on the Afghan diet plan in 3 short weeks. I've never considered any of that the hard part. In a strange way, it's the payoff because it meant I was in the big leagues. I talked with Acosta last week. I asked him if he minds getting abused by the president. He said, and I quote, "It's the best thing that's happened in my career. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm having the time of my life." None of that is the hard part. The hard part are the long years when you question if you're a loser, whether you've done the right thing. But I've always liked playing rough, and I've enjoyed very much the competition. And Steve Jobs said, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Some of you are sitting out there saying, well, I love money. Well, go out there and get the money, but get more than the next guy. Make your day interesting. I lost my dad a year ago. It's always sad. Dad was 91 years old. We had a good relationship, and he had a very full life. Dad served in World War II. He worked for companies. He started a couple of companies. He created hundreds of jobs. And one of the last things he said to me before he left at 91 years old was, "It happens fast." And that gets me to the conclusion here. Get after it. Some of you may want to take a break, and you've earned that. Backpack around Europe. Go relax for a little while. But set yourself a deadline on the front end and get after it. As I stand here, there are more career years behind me than in front of me, and it happened very fast. The torch is coming to you. The future is your opportunity. The future is your burden. That being said, you'll forget about this part of the speech in which I say get after it, try to motivate you out the door, because you just spent 4 years, some of you 5. A lot of money, a lot of late nights, and got you to the platform where you are right now from which you will launch. You should be pretty motivated. My goal here today is to be a voice that will return to your head on the bad days. When you didn't imagine it would be this hard, so many obstacles, it would take this long, there is so much adversity. John Lennon sang, "Nobody told me there'd be days like these." Well, I'm telling you right now. But I'm also telling you it means you're doing it right. You're reaching high enough to challenge the limits of your ability and your endurance. Passion makes tenacity a natural reaction, and tenacity gets you over the obstacle. When you're there, you'll have done something worthwhile. Dr. Henry Kissinger said, for other nations, utopia is the blessed past, never to be recovered. For Americans, it is just beyond the horizon. I'll see you out there.